I woke up naked in Marcus's bed, confused and with a dully throbbing headache. The raw pain had settled down into a much calmer pulsing, occasionally spiking inside and out. My ribs felt somehow much, much better. Breathing was painful, but no longer anywhere near debilitating. Marcus was making breakfast. Say what you will about the man, he always knew how to cook. I groaned and pushed the blankets off of me, sniffing the air. It smelled like eggs and sausage, maybe some toast. Slowly, stiffly, I worked my legs off the side of the bed and carefully stood up. The bandages on my side had been replaced while I was unconscious, which was curious because I wasn't sure how he alone could move my limp, unconscious body that much. Remind you, nearly 7 feet tall, really, really big. Either way, I stood up and shifted, trying to test my range of motion, It was a good thing I was left-handed, because my right arm was not going to work so great unless I could get some painkillers. It was sore. Tight, still swollen. My ribs on that side definitely weren't up to 100% either. I was pretty much all around bruised and battered. I did note that the rib that had felt broken when I showed up didn't feel broken anymore. I frowned, making my way out of the privacy screens and freezing in place on account of the fact that I was naked. And also I was staring at the man who had been guarding the stairs outside the night before, and a woman who was as pretty as the man, but decidedly more feminine. They were sitting on the couch. She had that kind of threatening feline grace that some of the women I knew in the old days possessed. Dangerous women. It made me a little uncomfortable. Also, I was naked. Should I mention that? Yeah. Marcus, I said, looking towards the kitchen. He stood there, in a different sweater vest and button-down, looking immaculate and calm as always. Frank, your clothing is hanging in the closet. It's the door next to the restroom, you know that. I would recommend you getting dressed, he told me, smiling blandly. I assumed you would wake up later. I should have known better, though. You smelled food. Yeah. Thanks, jerk. I'll go get dressed now. I could feel all of their eyes on me as I moved. Getting my big ass to the closet and grabbing my shirt, pulling it on. Boxers, pants, they followed. He'd hung them at the back, away from all his clothes. The closet smelled faintly of his cologne and dryer sheets. His washer and dryer were in the closet, you see. It was a nice smell. I don't know. I tend to remember things like that. I heard someone ask a question. A female, someone. Is he human? What? Of course he is. It's not like magical creatures are real, Marcus said pointedly, laughing brightly. You've been reading too many of my New Age books. I was obviously joking. He's just, Jesus, he's got to be the biggest man I've ever seen, the female answered, chuckling dryly. Other than in books about ogres and trolls. He is enormous, yes. That kind of musculature that can't be normal. Did somebody, shave a particularly fit silverback gorilla or something? The male added. Did you see his forearms? My God. They're so big. I frowned, did up my belt, and marched my muscular buttocks back out of the closet. Don't make a joke about that. Please don't. Enough of those jokes have been made in my life. Yep, I'm enormous. Thanks for noticing. Marcus would know all about me being enormous. Wouldn't you, Marcus? I muttered, heading towards the kitchen. Marcus laid a plate on the breakfast bar with a breakfast sandwich on it. He'd already half-wrapped it in wax paper like he expected me to bug out quick. Some other interesting facts about me include that my favorite color is green, I prefer boxer briefs, and I don't like it when people talk about me like I'm deaf. Not a big fan of long walks on the beach, though. I don't like crabs. Unless they're cooked. I'm sorry, Frank, Marcus said. You feeling okay? I shrugged, picking up the sandwich. Well, it's the strangest thing, Marcus. I could have sworn when I went to sleep I had a badly broken rib. Feels like I don't have a broken rib now, though. Oh, hell, it feels like my ribs are barely even cracked, I answered. I had a few broken ribs back in my day, Marcus. Felt a few more on coworkers. I usually don't mistake them. He looked right in my eye and told me it had to be a lie. You didn't have a broken rib, Frank. Lightly cracked, perhaps. You were mistaken, he told me. He sounded either nervous or confused, but for the first time in a long time, I wasn't actually sure. My instincts were giving me nothing. They never did with Marcus, though. He was as unreadable to me as a book in Braille, psychic abilities or not, and I had to rely on normal people reading skills, of which I did have many of, but even those were inconclusive. Sometimes that man, he's got like a crazy poker face. It's bizarre. I was so sure my rib had been broken, though. I wasn't sure what else could have made that wet crack that felt like it came from inside of me during the fight. Still, I couldn't exactly complain about having a not broken rib. Not when people were going to have to pay for a lot of things, and a broken rib would get in the way. Right, I did not have a broken rib. Sure. Well, I need to go. You've all seen more than enough of me at this point, I think, I said, turning away. You can't go anywhere alone, Frank. Those people, at least one of them, you told me he saw your face. They could know who you are. You barely survived running up against these people last time, Marcus said from behind me. You're not my boyfriend anymore, Doc. You don't get to tell me what to do. I got my own equipment, my own methods, my own allies, and my own favors. And I'm not taking one of your mercs. I got my reasons for not trusting mercs. The silence stretched on. Frank, I don't need protection so bad that you need to work alone. They might know my face, and they could have followed me here, Marcus. I was out of my head with pain. Tell me where my bagged meds are, keep your pretty boy and girl on guard, and keep your head low, and let me go. She's 18 in 4 or 5 days. I intend to make sure that she makes it there. Going to find this girl alone is dumb, Frank. Real dumb. I don't got time for smart, Marcus. And I'm not bringing in people I don't have time to vet either. Not on this operation. Do you even want the information they have for you, Frank? He asked. 'Cause they do have some information for you. They got it on my order. I froze in the process of lifting an undoubtedly delicious sandwich to my mouth and turned back around. You got information for me? I asked, slow and suspicious-like. Information on cults in the area who are attempting to gather children? Cults who might need a transgender orphan, perhaps? The female asked, pointing to a briefcase on the table. I gathered what I could. I called in a few favors, Marcus added, looking embarrassed. So I did what any normal person would do. I sat the fuck down and I let them explain. The male remained silent while I ate and looked over the files. The woman talked. The files were rundowns on all the rumors of cults or verified stories of cults and groups attempting to gather children in the area. A few of the files were actual FBI files. FBI investigations. But those were the ones that were big time and sloppy as hell, taking kids from, regular families and things. The other two were only taking homeless kids. Now those files read less like FBI files and more like write-ups of the rumor mill. Questions asked in the dark, in the kinds of seedy circles that Blackwood was known for. The woman explained to me about the occult, like the fact that transgendered people leaning more towards the feminine aspect are important in some shamanic practices. Others revere males of the same type, etc., etc. And basically, some cultures revere them as powerful contacts to the spirit world. Something about them having a foot in both worlds, symbolically, Her being a virgin was related to sacrifice of purity, and killing her parents made her an orphan from wealth, which had significance in relation to transfer of power, I guess. A lot of magic seems very, very arbitrary. So there were two cults. Two cults flying under the radar and picking up street kids. It gave me a start. Didn't give me names. So, basically, it left me with nothing. We got an idea on what specific ritual they might be doing? I asked. No, but in occult circles, transfers of power, or rather paying for power and receiving it, requires a large space free of interference, the male said, his voice softer than before. They'd need a warehouse, something they could rent. Probably on the outskirts at least, and Mr. Silver, the girl is unquestionably the sacrifice. The children are... The street kids are likely already deceased. Probably being kept in cold storage. How sure are you that the street kids are dead? 85, 90%. Very few people would keep the street kids alive. They're pre-sacrifices. All you have to do is kill the children, bleed them, bind the souls to the blood and corpses, and that's enough. They'll be dead by now for convenience's sake. Jesus Christ, that's not good, I muttered, feeling a cold sense of dread set into my guts. It was just like before already. Kids were likely dead. The girl was likely the only one left alive. I was possibly too late already. It already felt like I had failed. But I kept that to myself. Even so, I couldn't finish my sandwich. Then I looked at my doctor. I've never heard of a doctor who could get his hands on FBI files. Nor a street doctor who deals in information, I said quietly. If any of the off-the-book docs in Caracas had been like you, maybe things wouldn't have hit the fan so hard back then. Or Iran, Iraq, Russia. Gee, I could have used about 10 doctors all around the world that had your kind of connections, Marcus. Wow, really, Frank? How strange. That's super bizarre. I've never heard of a private investigator who talks about Caracas, Iran, and Russia, and who calls kidnapping victims being rescued an operation. That's super bizarre. It's almost like we were both keeping huge secrets from each other. Do you want to talk about it more? Prick? We stared at each other for a moment, and then I sighed and stood up. Don't be a bitch, Marcus. Yeah, your meds are by the door, big guy. Don't get yourself killed being a douche, okay? Please don't get yourself killed. Oh, I can't die, Marcus, not yet. I'm too pretty, I answered. The woman snorted loudly into her coffee. The male looked unamused. Marcus looked worried, and my self-esteem looked like it had seen better days. I sighed and grabbed my meds. And beat feet.